Well, I'm opening up this broadcast by saying L'chaim, a toast to all of you out there. I always love bringing you the news from Israel. I know that it's not always positive, and we are on day 340 of a war that is really taking a massive toll on all of us. But knowing we have our incredible Israel Brief community out there, well, that means the world. So, if you're new to us, welcome to the Israel Brief. I'm Rolene Marks, and we are brought to you every Monday to Thursday by these guys, Lay of the Land. They are our partners, and we bring you the top stories making headlines in Israel every Monday to Thursday. The headlines that you might not see in your media, or you might see twisted to be represented in a different way in your media. So if you want your news fresh off the presses and right here from Israel, I'm your gal. It is day 340. We still have 101 hostages held captive by Hamas. Just days ago, the family of Avera Mengistu marked 10 years since he was taken hostage in the Gaza Strip. Avera Mengistu, an Ethiopian Israeli, has been held captive for 10 years. He suffers from mental health issues, and we have had no sign of life since 2014. We want him, we want all of our hostages back now. Just as an aside, while we are speaking about the hostages, 101 includes Avera, it includes Hisham al-Sayed, a Bedouin Israeli, also being held captive for a number of years, as well as the remains of two fallen soldiers who fell in 2014's Operation Protective Edge, Oron Shaul and Hadar Golden. So when we talk about hostage negotiations, they are not just for the hostages taken on the 7th of October last year, but also for the 4 taken before. So let's get into the top stories, and it is not a good week for South Africa. Many of you watching are from South Africa, and you guys will all know that earlier this year, the South African government filed claims of accusing Israel of genocide at the International Court of Justice. Both sides presented their case in January, and since then South Africa has appealed to the court several times for judgments. And of course, we had that clarification from the former president of the ICJ, who said that Israel is not committing a genocide. Well, we have some developments there. It is believed, and this is according to Kan, the Israeli broadcaster, that the South African legal team have appealed for there to be an extension on the deadline to submit evidence on claims of genocide. The deadline is set for the 28th of October, but they have asked for it to be extended by several months. They say that they don't have enough evidence to prove genocide. Well, we could have told you that. We could have told you that, and those who have been following the Israel Brief and listening to our broadcasts and getting the news from Israel will know that this case at the ICJ has nothing to do with genocide. We know, according to the numbers, according to the research, according to the IDF Code of Conduct, according to the high-level military group that have done assessments, that there is no genocide happening in Gaza. Yes, there are fatalities. War is horrific. War is brutal, and as much as the IDF tries its hardest to avoid civilian casualties, unfortunately, not only are there civilian casualties, as there are in every combat scenario or every war scenario, but Hamas cynically embeds itself within its civilian infrastructure, and we're going to get a little bit more onto that in another story coming up. And that is why you have a high civilian count. As Prime Minister Netanyahu and many others have said, civilian deaths for Israel is a tragedy. For Hamas, it is a strategy. And not only that, to add a bit of a headache to South Africa's week, but in correspondence uncovered by Axios, they are an American-based publication, it has been revealed that Israeli diplomats are trying to galvanize U.S. lawmakers in Congress to put pressure on the ICJ to drop the case. And also, while we're talking about South Africa and the US's relations, we can't forget that a couple of months ago there was that filing by lawyers to Congress to review the relationship between the US and South Africa. This, of course, could greatly impact on jobs, on trade relations between the United States and South Africa. But South Africa's flagrant support of Hamas as an internationally recognized terrorist organization could severely impact on their relations with Western countries as well. So watch this space. We are sure going to be watching this with a microscope. Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, speaking to foreign journalists today, said that he is in support of a ceasefire and hostage deal. He says that pausing hostilities not only would present the opportunity to try and ensure as many of our hostages are returned as possible, but will give the IDF and give Israel the opportunity to address other strategic challenges. Now, this has put him at loggerheads with the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister is adamant that there be no ceasefire, and of course there are merits to both sides of the argument. But the Defense Minister went on to say that Hamas as a military formation no longer exists. It has been severely impacted by the IDF, which is, of course, one of the war goals. The IDF also announced earlier today that they had, in a very precise strike in Khan Yunis, taken out several Hamas or high-level Hamas leaders. Yesterday, the IDF had called on civilians to evacuate the northern part of Khan Yunis and parts of the humanitarian zone. These Hamas operatives were using the humanitarian zone as a command and control post, and the IDF conducted a precision strike. Now, Hamas and Sky News, of course, have said that 40 civilians were killed in the strike. However, the IDF refuted, saying that the type of munitions used and based on the information and precision of the strike, that as few casualties as humanly possible, except for the Hamas leaders, were killed. And finally, another stabbing pain in the head of former Foreign Minister for South Africa, Naledi Pandor. And of course, a positive story to end today's broadcast before we get into the audience question. At least 35 lawmakers from 25 different African states have gathered in Addis Ababa, that's the capital of Ethiopia, for a conference not only to show support for the state of Israel, but to look at ways to expand the Abraham Accords, not just for the region, the Middle East. Of course, we have partners, the United Arab Emirates, Morocco, Bahrain, and Sudan, but to also look at expanding that to African countries whose economies are growing, want to be partnered up with the startup nation, the innovation nation. They see how much Israel contributes not just to the Middle East, but can contribute to Africa. We share many of the same challenges, and the time is perfect now. So I think that is a massively positive development. Now let's get to that audience question, and it comes from David in Cape Town, who wants to know how much of the Gaza Strip does the IDF control? Okay, so this is an important question, and I'll tell you why. Because we have to look at how we frame this. The IDF don't control the Gaza Strip because that implies that we are reoccupying a decision that Israel is adamant that we are not interested. However, we have substantially destroyed enough Hamas battalions that from a military perspective, we have, you could say, almost, if not, achieved our war goals. As Defense Minister Gallant said in the story earlier on, Hamas as a military formation no longer exists. But that is not the only war goal. We need to destroy Hamas's governing potential and governing opportunities. That is also part of our war goal. So we have to be very careful when we say how much or say if Israel controls the Gaza Strip. We don't control the Gaza Strip. It does remain an independent entity. Hopefully, following this war, we will look at ways that maybe our Abrahamic partners can be involved. Maybe there can be international peacekeepers involved. What we do know is Israel does not want to reoccupy the Gaza Strip, and we certainly do not want to govern the Gaza Strip. So I hope that helps, David from Cape Town. And that's it for today. Guys, don't forget to check out our website at www.layoftheland.online. Our Facebook page is at Lottel's site. Our YouTube channel is right here at the Israel Brief. And we're on Instagram at my channel, Rolene_Marks. We are on X at layoftheland5. I even post to Instagram. I mean, what's that other one? LinkedIn. If there are any social media networks I left out, well, I'm sure you guys will tell me. So have a wonderful rest of your Tuesday. God bless you. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. And join me tomorrow for the Wednesday edition of the Israel Brief. Bye for now.